Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Biokinetic K9 Live. So today, this is quite an interesting topic, and I was prompted to talk about it because of comments earlier on in the week. So we're going to be talking about purpose-driven exercises. What are we talking about? So I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us live. Let me just a few introductions. My name is Angela Hearn. I'm the owner and founder of the Biokinetic K9. And we talk about fitness and conditioning, or we not talk about it, we do fitness and conditioning, fluff, for our dogs, particularly sporting dogs. So I love the way dogs move and how their bodies and their muscles are able to do all the things we ask of them. That's why the Biokinetic K9 was founded from my own dog in any case. So if you are here, please let me know that you're here and that everything is working. Give me a hello, let me know where you're from, or a thumbs up or something. That would be great to know that everything is up and running. So let's get cracking. What are we talking about? Purpose-driven exercises. This is quite an interesting topic for me. So let's get going on to why are you even doing an exercise at all? Are you doing it for strength? Is it for sport? Is it for a post-injury and now you want to get your dog back into becoming strong for his sport? Was your dog away? Were you away on holiday? What happened? So if there's any stopping of training or exercises for more than 3 weeks to a month, then the muscles, they do regress in their strength and the ability to perform. So are you picking up from where you left off? What is the intention? Or is it for weight management? There's lots of goals and reasons why people will exercise their dogs. What is your purpose? And once you've got your purpose, then you can start figuring out what you should do. So why I'm talking about this is because there was a post in a sporting group, and the post was generally about, oh, I think my dog has a weakness, front or back of the body, and I'd like to concentrate on these, on strengthening this area of the body. And a lot of the comments was like, do swimming with your dog. If you want to build up strength, do weight pull with your dog. If you want to do this, go hiking with your dog. If you want to do that, go and do. It was general good intentions, and it was some really good comments. But if you are just going to go and do a lot of those exercises, just like people, if we've been living a very sedentary life and we go and just do exercises, there is a lot that we need to understand first. And if we do it ourselves, we can feel it in our bodies, but our dogs can't really tell us what's going on. So when we feel something, if we tweak something, whatever, we know we need to slow down. So if I suddenly start to go jogging down the road, I'm not going to make it to the next lamppost because I'm not a jogger. So what are we talking about? So when you're looking at what is the purpose of your exercise, you also need to look at the risks of exercise. And there are quite a few risks when you exercise your dog, when you exercise just for yourself. But exercise, although it has its risks and there are side effects of performing exercise, the risks, the long-term risks of not doing exercise is even higher. So what are we looking at here? So when you do an exercise, you can quite easily have the more common ones are musculoskeletal injuries or cardiovascular injuries, and we're going just from humans. So muscular injuries, musculoskeletals are sprains, strains, over-exercising, sore muscles, etc. during training or after training. And then cardiovascular is when you think you can and you just go jogging and you can't because your body's not used to converting that oxygen into energy in through the bloodstream. So your heart and your lungs are unable to take the strain or as much as you'd like it to. So those are the risks of injury. So how do you try and avoid those things? And you have to look at this at quite a few angles, especially when it comes to your dog, because your dog can't say to you, well, Angela, listen, I'm done. I can't do these things. That's really difficult for me, or my muscles are getting tired. especially for our high drive or sporting dogs, because they are going to try and try all the time. But we can see things in their body when they are struggling to perform an exercise, and there are real small tells on their bodies that we can see, even though they're going to try all the time. But if you pick up these tells and you watch them work, you can easily stop your dogs from having an injury, even if it is to performing exercises. And of course, there are risks of exercises, especially if you're not doing an exercise for the purpose of your goal. And I'm talking a lot about sport dogs here. Look, if it is for just general fitness and it is maybe for, you just want to get your dog's been laid off or you've been away for a month or so and now you're going back to exercise, then yes, sure, go hiking with your dog, have a small jog around the block, do those things. But when it comes to sport, you want to have purpose-driven exercises. You don't want to do exercises that are not going to enhance the sport of your dog. So what am I talking about here when I say a purpose-driven exercise and the risk of exercise? So let's just take, for example, go hiking with your dog, go running with your dog, all of those things. If we go and look at sports, let's just take agility for one, or IGP or flyball. Those are your main big sports out there. Let's take agility, and you go hiking with your dog's running around, jumping over the odd log here and there. He's not doing it under a time trial where he has to learn to gather his body under speed, launch, land, and turn quite sharply. It's a lazy jog. It's a jumping over a log. No big deal. If you're looking at your dog that has to do agility, he has to do jump over things at speed with precision, turn when required. And that requires a whole lot of different torque on the muscles and a whole lot of different conversation with the muscle brain function. And those things you need to practice and get the muscle memories for. And that's your purpose-driven exercise. So you want to have your exercises relating to your sport. If you take IGP, for example, if a dog has to go and launch to go on the long attack to fight the helper, it's a low flying launch compared to our 1 meter jump. That the muscles used in those two exercises are completely different, and they differ somewhat to your agility as well, where your highest agility jump is 60 centimeters or 2 feet, and your 1 meter jump is what is in feet. It's about 3 point something foot for our American guys. There's different muscles involved and different strengths when it comes to launching and landing. You can't practice a 1 meter jump all the time in the hopes that your dog's going to do a fantastic 1 meter jump, because you are going to do lots of damage to the shoulders. Similar to agility, you can't practice wiggle sticks without doing damage to the shoulders. So how and what exercises can you do that don't put those huge impacts on the dog and on their joints so that you have a longevity in your sport? So your purpose-driven exercises is to provide targeted strengthening exercises for the various movements required in your sport so that you can have a good long sporting career. If we are looking at even just strengthening front end, yes, we can strengthen shoulders, biceps, triceps on a dog, but are you also strengthening the inside and outside muscles? No dog steps to the side in real life very much. It's something that happens so now and again, but when your dog is doing a sport, you want those muscles and those ligaments and those joints to be able to handle those side steps. So the inside and outside muscles also need to be targeted in a safe manner so that we're not promoting faster wear and tear. So when you're looking at your purpose-driven exercises, if it comes to our sports, we need to be more particular than just giving holistic exercise regimes like swimming, etc. Swimming does target things, but it's a cardiovascular exercise. If you look at the human swimmer, yes, they've got broader shoulders. They've also got a lot of flexibility in the shoulders for rotation, etc., etc. But that swimming, that big muscle transfer doesn't transfer all the way down into the thighs and calves. There's a different type of exercise and movement there, especially if you're looking at breaststroke compared to freestyle. The legs work differently. So if you're going to do swimming for a dog, some dogs swim like this, where the bottom of the body just hangs and they really moving their front legs. Some dogs can hold their bodies up and swim quite nicely. Some dogs need floaters, and then some floaters restrict the shoulders. So swimming is a complex area of itself. When you're looking at general CrossFit for your dog, for general health of a dog, awesome. But when you're doing a sport, you want your exercises to help with the compensatory imbalances that sport creates. You want to help maintain that body balance in the muscles. So when it comes to risks of exercise, you want to look at the muscles, look at the sport, and make sure that you are balancing them out. And how is the best way to do that? Well, we all know that one of the universal truths with regards to reducing just normal sprains and injuries is a proper warm-up and a cool-down. So even if you are not doing any particular fitness exercises and you are doing some form of club training with your dog, some sort of sporting training with your dog, please, if I can ask you just one thing, is don't take them straight from the car onto the field and train. Just do a 15-minute warm-up. If it's walking around, doing a few sits to stands, a few lie-downs to stands, just something to get the blood flowing through the body and to get those muscles a little bit warmed up, because they've been in the car or in the crate and they've been lying there curled up or barking or watching the scenery, but their body is not warmed up for what they are doing. It's the same as if I have to go from this chair and suddenly go and run and it's cold outside, I am going to injure myself. Oh, Riani, hello! Yes, warm up and cool down is so important. Riani has done absolute wonderment things with the dog. I received some messages from her this week and I'm blown away with what she's achieving. But she will know she's got an extremely fast dog. And that warm up and cool down is so very, very important. So even if you're not doing a particular sport and a particular exercise, please do a general warm up with your dog, from just walking to trotting, sitting, lying down, etc., just so that there's slow, regulated movement so the joints can work and then they can go onto the field. And nothing more than 10 to 15 minutes is fine. So if you can do that, and it's useful on big training days. Also, if you are doing a proper warm-up, we try and, if you are doing sports, then make your warm-ups relate to the exercises or the targets that you are doing in the sport that you're doing. Linda, hi! It's so nice that you are here. Awesome. Right. So also, if you've got big training days, especially if for humans, if you go to gym and you do a really hard training session and you leave, the last memory is how tired you are. And for most humans, if you have to go back to going to gym and it's not something you do all the time, that last memory is the thing that you remember going into training. And people then training becomes a negative thing. And sometimes that can happen with a dog too. If your training sessions are too hard, too far, too long, and the dog's working, and they're actually tired, and then you come off the field. And sometimes we have to have a difficult training day. We don't have to make training difficult all the time, but sometimes in between there's a difficult training day. And what really helps for those days, plus for every other training day that you have, is a simple cool down. And how does a cool down help with difficult training days? Quite simple. For humans, if we are cooling down, we've had a difficult training session and now we cool down. It's time for us to relax. So from that big training session, we can now do some slow targeted stretching, just calm ourselves down, especially if it's warm outside, and we cool down and we drop our body temperature from this hard, difficult exercise and this difficult mind sensation where our minds are a little bit fried. The same thing happens with a dog. Their minds can get tired, and you just go and take them for a walk and let them cool down and let them bond with you again. in a more relaxed manner, so that by the time you put them back into their car, they are in a better frame of mind. They're not just like flatzing out there on the floor and they just absolutely can't. So it helps with that, that mind connect with the training sensation. Also, if your training was really short, a lot of people, if the training is really short and then the dog does everything well, then people tend to stop there, because stop on a high and then put the dog away. But then what happens is the dog knows, like, oh my God, if I do this really well, I'm going to go back to the car. And so they mess around on the field, and you have problems with training and you don't know why, but the dog knows, if I do something well, I'm going back to the car. So they will mess around. And I know it's happened with my daughter's dog, where you finish training, and a friend of mine, when you finish training and you think, okay, come on, it's time to go, they just stand in the middle of the field. They're not moving anywhere. And a cool down helps in these situations too. So don't just finish training and go to the car. Finish training and go for a cool down, go for a nice walk, do some nice stretches, engage more with your dog, that it's not just, well, we've trained and now that's it. But bond with it, helps with that bonding, and that everybody says when you're doing sport, engagement is the biggest thing. If you've got engagement with your dog, your sport excels. This helps with that engagement, that bonding with your dog is so important. So your warm up and cool down is super important for any training that you do. If you are way at the top end of training and you're training for a big trial, or even if you're just going to the club for some fun and some fitness ideas or obedience ideas with your dog, that cool down is super important. Dogs remember if they are doing a good job and then they go to the car, so you don't want to associate a good job with a final reward and then off to the car. So your cool down helps for that purpose. So your warm up and cool down doesn't only prevent injuries and strains, musculoskeletal injuries, but it also helps with the bonding and makes a heavy training session more bearable the next time they go out onto the field, or makes a small training session more fun before they go into the car. So use that time wisely with your dog. There's so much more that you can gain. The next thing that you can do to reduce the risk of injury with purpose-driven exercises is always start at a low intensity. This applies to all things. If you are starting, even if your dog is really sporty, they do lots of things and they're out on the field and they're quite fit, but now, like for us, we are in lockdown again, and a lot of training has to happen within the confines of your home or your backyard. So even if you're changing the training style, also start again at low intensity, and then build up the training, build up the intensity of the exercise. This is, even if you've got a sport dog and you're doing a new exercise, the same thing applies. For example, if you are a swimmer and now you want to try running. So you're a swimmer and you've got real good cardio health, you can have got good stamina, good endurance, but now you want to jog. It's a different exercise and a different movement for the body. You're incorporating different muscles. These different muscles have to last over a different period of time. So the same thing, if you're going to start jogging, you're going to start at the lower intensity. You're just going to keep it a short distance and you are going to build it up, even though you're quite a good swimmer. It's the same for any sport and for any dog. Even if you are normally training on the field and now you're changing the exercise, it's different. Mind-body connects, different muscle movements, and especially if you are a sporting, your dog is a sporting athlete, and you are doing targeted exercises. How it works, the higher up in the sport you go, the more precise your movements have to be, and the more your dog has to train in the accuracy of those movements, especially in IGP, even agility. Those turns have to be super tight. The dog has to be really accurate on every jump. Agility, that obedience has to be absolutely controlled. Protection work, everything has got to be controlled with power. So the higher up you go and the more you train, there's more control and more power required from the dog. The exact same happens when you are doing conditioning and fitness exercises. The more advanced you go in your conditioning, the more control the dog has to have in the movement of his body. And that control takes a lot of muscle memory and a lot of muscle communication with the brain, and that in that precision of movement. So it's very important that when you're starting with any conditioning exercise, start at the bottom, at the easy things, get the form and the technique correct, because that correctness on form is going to engage the absolute muscles that you require to strengthen for your sport. And that's where everything starts to pay off in spades. So I've seen it with the dogs that I'm working with. I've seen it for myself. The dogs, their bodies change, their performances change even after an injury. I'm seeing it with my own dogs too. So get that technique right. Start low and build up slowly. And when I say slowly, it's actually quite surprising to me at how quickly the dogs learn these exercises. It doesn't take that long, and they progress really well. So even the general rule of thumb is muscle memory takes about 2 weeks to get going, and then you're building up the strength in those areas. So you're looking at about a 3 week before you actually progress onto something more difficult with an exercise. And the dogs pick these things up super easy. So don't be afraid to start low and progress slowly, because that slow progression and that slow, precise movements gets you further faster, especially when it comes to your sport. You will really reap the rewards of that purpose exercise and that proper technique in performing your exercises. This is a promise. So if you are a little bit unsure about what the risks, how you can avoid risks, or even if you want to start doing an exercise, you want to start doing extra conditioning with your dog because you've been laid off, you were away on holiday, and now you're training again, or your dog is a little bit unfit and you want to start something, or your dog needs to lose weight and you've got to get them a little bit fitter, or you're in sport and you want to target certain muscle areas, start low. But before you even start, you want to make sure that your dog is A-okay. You want to make sure that whatever exercise you're doing is not going to be exacerbating an injury that you never saw. So if you've got any of these concerns, then we've got just the thing for you. Let me just show you. Go and have a look at our bodychecksforinjury.com. We've done a small mini workshop just on this, on all the things that you can look for in your dog to make sure that everything is aligned, everything is in balance, and you can notice things as soon as there are any imbalances, and you can correct them way before it becomes an injury. So this is really, really important for you to know before you start exercising with real purpose. And even if you're just going, you take your dog on hikes, you want to make sure that when you come back on a hike, your dog is not hiding a small tweak or sprain somewhere, so that you know for the next time you go training, let me just take it a little bit easier and keep an eye on that before it becomes a real big concern. And that is it for me for today. I'm hoping that these things help you to just consider when you go and embark and people give you all these things of go swimming. These are all fantastic ideas, and I promise they are probably doing it with the best intention to help you and your dog. But first, take a look at your dog, see where they are in their condition. Maybe they are not really fit and you need to start slowly. Maybe you want to make the shoulders a little bit stronger, and you first need to figure out why are they weaker than the rest of the body? Why? If some area is not as strong as the other area, why are they? Is there a compensation maybe? And when it comes to, is the front stronger than the back? Are you also looking at left and right sides? So make sure that you're looking at your dog as a whole. And if you're looking at just front and back, is the bridge joining the front and back also strong enough to take a really strong front and a really strong back? Because you don't want to have strong front and rear legs and the core is weak, because that's where the injuries lurk most of all. All right, so if you want to get hold of me, please, you're most welcome. Send me any information. I love answering your questions. I would love to help you where I can. You can send any emails to me at fit@thebiokineticcanine.com. My business is thebiokineticcanine.com, and you can see there it's the the Biokinetic Canine, and the email address biokineticcanine9, all one word.com. Go have a look. Again, just remember, if you want to look up to see if there's any injuries that your dog may be hiding, just go look for bodychecksforinjury.com and you can see what we're talking about there. We also have, if you like what you see there and you want to know a little bit more about what is the best way to do a warm-up and a cool-down, I'll post a link in here and you can have a look and you can go have a see. Awesome. Hi, Catherine, Riani. Thank you. Have fun with your dogs too. That is awesome. If you liked everything, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, pop me an email or pop in the comments if there's anything that you want to know a little bit more. So that is me for today. Let me send you my information. Go here. And then I'm going to say, cheers, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a really super day. Cheers, Riani, Linda, Catherine, and all the people that are there. Awesome. Bye-bye now.